The first thing any great marketer, salesperson, any great like GTM leader does is they deeply start to understand the who. Like who's the audience, who's the customer. You kind of know in your gut what should be the ICP, but like let's
Right.
really validate it. And you might be surprised sometimes. But again, I think people like rush into some of these more complicated things before they're ready. Like they don't have the fundamentals down. What we're talking about here, ICP, like ICP strategy.
Welcome to Move the Needle, the show where we explore how teams turn data into growth. Real stories, proven playbooks. Let's get into it.
Hello, everyone. I have a special guest here, Mark Kilens. Killing it is what we used to call him at HubSpot when we worked together back in the day. Mark built up the all of the customer training and education at HubSpot, which was like known, I'd say world renowned in the software space for like educating not just customers, but our whole market, right? And Mark led that effort and scaled that up. Now you're working at a company that helps other companies do training. You're at a company called Llama, right?
Yes.
Did I get that right? Fully bootstrapped company, doing eight-figure business with just 40 employees, highly profitable, 8,000 companies using the platform. Yep. So now you're out there like 10xing your impact on the world, helping lots of people do the kind of stuff that you did at HubSpot. And you're now the VP of marketing there, and part of the management team, relatively small management team, sounds like. A handful of people. So glad to have you, Mark. Welcome. Anything else you want to share about your background before I jump into talking about how Llama is kind of building out their business?
No, I appreciate those kind words. And yeah, I think for Llama, we definitely are focused on impact, like you alluded to with HubSpot. Like we really talk about how do we make sure our customers are getting the impact, which are HR, managers, HR directors, chief people officers, compliance officers. But ultimately, they take what we sell to them and then deliver that to their employees, like to their teams. And our whole notion is we want to create training experiences because we're in the compliance training and security training space to match how people like to learn today. And that's how you get to change, or maybe you get the opportunity, hopefully get the opportunity to change someone's behavior and then ultimately better protect your business, reduce your company's risk, reduce human risk. It's about actually making an impact. So I think that point you made, Pete, about like impact on the business, the customers you serve, but also then like maybe their end customers is very important to also then measure. Like one way we measure it is course completions. How many people are not just like getting assigned the courses, but completing the courses? And then how many people are, assigning more courses and completing more courses? So I think having the impact metric for your business, and maybe we get to this at some point in the conversation, is very important. Like the value metric, the impact metric.
Yeah. I love that. Yes, agreed. I think it's not always easy to come up with that in a business. Like, as you know, at HubSpot, we had the cheese score, right? Where we would measure how companies are using the product, how often they're using the product. I think every SaaS company has some kind of a metric like that, but it's always a little bit like they should use the product more, right? Instead of like how much value are they getting? So it's nice when you can have that North Star metric, some people call it, where it's like a true measure of your customer's success is your company's metric of success as well. So, and in the training space, I can see that like you ultimately want people finishing the training and then learning something that they then apply to their job to, like you're saying, in compliance world, at least avoiding a risk, avoiding a catastrophe, avoiding an issue, right? Being whatever it is. So yeah, totally. It's nice to be able to have that metric. We've toyed around at Databox of like trying to come up with a metric that like measures the success of some company's business, because we plug into all the tools that they use, their marketing data, their sales data, their financial data, et cetera. And so we could, use actual real performance data from those companies to say like, but it's also hard to say like we're the drivers of that per se, because really most of what we're doing is helping them make decisions, right? We're not making the decision for them or implementing any of the change for them. It's just we're helping them aggregate their data, analyze it, monitor it, track goals, performance on it, but not necessarily like making the decisions or doing the work. So it's hard to, in fact, I had an early customer, I'd say like, we want to help you improve your performance. And like, I don't need you to help me improve your performance. My team, I don't want you taking credit for improving my performance. My team doing it. So we didn't quite made that leap, but it's something we've talked about, is having like a company score and actually grading a company based on their fundamentals and their growth.
You know what you should do though? Like, so I just had a conversation with a former HubSpotter, Keith. He's now the CEO of Tatango, which is this like customer success platform. Yep. And he was recently on my podcast, and he blew my mind where he has implemented this thing called a value level agreement between the sales and CS teams. Okay. And this is so ingrained in the company now that they actually 25% of a salesperson's comp is tied to how well they implement that value level agreement with the customer, the CS team, based off of the use cases and value drivers that the salesperson has got to discover and then enable the CS person to actually do and quantify. So I don't know, there could be something there like getting you specific with each customer. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, it's similar to what we tried to do at HubSpot when we had, I don't know if you remember, this was really early, but we had really bad churn. There was 1 month where our churn spiked crazy. I think it was like right around the recession time. It came back down pretty quickly. But Jonah did an analysis and realized that churn varied significantly by salesperson. And you would have been able to guess who had good retention and who had poor retention to the team. And so it was very obvious to me based on the way they sell, right? And so so we made a change similar to that where compensation was tied closer to retention of the account. We quickly realized it was too punitive and we needed to like change it a little bit. So then we tied it to long-term retention as opposed to churn. So because churn is too
it's volatile.
Small business. But volatile. Thank you for translating my hand motions for the audio. Exactly. All right. So let's go back to Easy Llama. When did you join?
Just about a year ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Just about a year ago.
Yeah. Cool. And then did they have a marketing function before, or did you kind of establish it out?
They did. They didn't have a marketing leader since about October. I actually joined as a fractional marketing leader because I was in between full-time gigs. And
I remember you were doing that. Yeah.
And actually I did that for a few reasons, but one of the reasons why I did that for about 2 years is to ultimately land my next full-time gig.
Okay.
It was that's a whole other conversation for another day.
You're not the only fractional person that was doing that. Yes.
It's very, very intentional. I also have 3 kids under 6. Well, one just turned 6 yesterday. So I was kids and anyway, you know how it is. So they had a very nascent marketing function, and it was really a function based off of just volume, like the classic quantity. Let's not really focus on quality. Let's focus on much smaller businesses, not super sharp and strong positioning and messaging. Didn't have a very defined ICP. The focus wasn't quite there. So I'm like, oh, there's a ton of opportunity here. This is exciting.
Yeah. It's funny. It's like you're almost looking for the problems to solve, right? Because you know that if you solve the problems, then you can be the hero and impact a lot of people.
Yep.
So you know that I wrote out a course. I call it Predictable Scale. It has a methodology to it. It's 5 steps: strategize, plan, execute, adjust, repeat, and scale. The reason I wrote it is because looking at our customers, I could see patterns of patterns behind failure and patterns behind success. Because again, we have access to a lot of data and we can crunch that. And what I saw is that the companies that are consistently growing are good and spend the time at building out a differentiated strategy. Then they are good at turning that strategy into a plan, shorter term, annual, quarterly plans.
Yep.
I'm hoping that we can dive into how Easy Llama does it as an inspiration for people and motivation for people to do it right. So maybe let's start with strategy. You alluded to it a little bit. The first step in my methodology is narrowing down your ICP so that you're focused on the customers that are either going to pay you the most, stay with you the longest, close the quickest, refer you business, some measurable metric that says this is our best customer segment. So it sounds like you guys did something like that. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you did it and what you arrived at?
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. I mean, the first thing any great marketer, salesperson, any great like GTM leader does is they deeply start to understand the who. Like, who's the
Yeah.
audience, who's the customer. So when I joined, I was kind of in a lucky spot. Easy Llama had about 8,000 customers at that point, and we just looked at the customer data, everything from product usage to renewals to churn to all of it, and we tried to do a regression and say like, hey, where is their health and where
Yeah.
is their like maybe not such great health in the install base. And then when you look at firmographics, demographics, for us mostly just those two kind of data sets,
Yep.
what are the commonalities that we
Okay.
could find and understand. And we kind of, how every company is, once you have product market fit, definitely past problem market fit, you have product market fit, we had product market fit, you kind of know in your gut what should be the ICP, but like let's really validate it, and you might be surprised sometimes. And after doing that for about 6 to 8 weeks, and we did this cross functionally, we did this with the RevOps person that was on the team, we did this with the head of product, the
Okay.
chief technology officer who's also a co-founder.
Okay.
We did this with the incoming sales leader that was coming into the company. Of course, the CEO. Like I led this, and it was a very cross-functional way to
Good.
make sure everyone understood what we were doing, why we were doing this analysis, what was the like ultimate outcome, and what would we do with the information then once we had this. So that's at a high level, kind of what we did, Pete.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was just talking to a fractional CMO, and he was really good. Like, understands his, he has a process where he defines that ICP. He then moves into positioning. Then he moves into what's the offer. Then he moves into messaging, and then he moves into channels and like laying it out. So like really regimented. And I said to him, like, that's a lot of freaking work, and you're doing it just so that you can get to the marketing, right? And so it's awesome that you included everyone, because that selection of that ICP does not just govern how you market or who you market to. It governs how you build your business. And so I'd love to hear maybe 1, 2, 3 things that you guys are doing differently as a result of that ICP. And hopefully there's more than just marketing changes. Set you up for that.
No. I mean, so some of the big things we found, number one, where do we win and why do we win? Right. And then where do we lose and why do we lose? And that helps like tremendously with product roadmap and product strategy and product decisions. Like that's a big piece of what we learned through this analysis. Very, very insightful. We also, at the same time, we have a very strong user experience researcher on the team.
Oh, awesome.
She's excellent. I think it's another reason. It's definitely actually a reason why I joined, Pete, is because we have an awesome product leader. They intentionally build products. We intentionally build products with a lot of like thoughtfulness and talking to customers, talking to the market, like looking at things. So we combine those things together to get a very strong point of view on our product strategy and product roadmap. So I'll stop there to see if you have any questions about that. But that was one big outcome from this.
That's key. In fact, we have internal conversations that are very similar about like what's our ICP and what are we going to do about it. And that's what I always bring it back to is like knowing the ICP or picking or narrowing the ICP. The first thing you have to do is like, do we have the best product for them objectively or not? Like, and so the next step is like, look at the competitors that are competing for that market, and can you differentiate or not? And if you can't, then you can't even say you have the best product for them, because if you're just 1 of 5 or 1 of 3 or 1 of 10 or whatever, or 1 of 1,000, it's hard. So it's very encouraging for me to hear that impacted the product roadmap to some degree, at least. Yeah.
Yep. It's kind of these 3 Ps. The second P is pricing and packaging. Well, it's 2 Ps, but like packaging. So like this helped us understand how to potentially change, and we did change some packaging and pricing at the same time when we kind of were learning these things.
Yeah.
And now, like in the future, we're going to take this, do even more thoughtful pricing and packaging research and discovery. But like that's a big thing too, right? So you have your product strategy, product roadmap, who you're building it for, that like kind of bullseye, like you're saying. Then it's pricing and packaging, and the third is positioning. So it's like you got your product, you got your packaging, pricing, you got your positioning. All right, now those are kind of aligned to the right like audience, the right who, the right ICP. And you can start to get really focused, and hopefully what you'll see is better quality leads that have higher close rates, higher ACVs, and better retention. I mean, that's the ultimate reason why you do this.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And so the final one is placement, right? So I'm guessing you then took that positioning and started to put that across your channels, right?
Yep. It's the classic 4 Ps. I mean, it doesn't really go right? I mean, it's really.
Yeah, no. Well, I think it's a little different. I don't know if it's the classic one. I always forget what the classic one is. But
maybe it's promotion. There's a promotion one. There's promotion like because it's more like physical products, placement, promotion. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. We're dating ourselves. We're not quite old enough to know to actually have experience what the old 4 Ps are, but we know what they are, right?
Yeah, I did not go to business school.
I didn't go to school for marketing. Did you? What did you go to school for?
Well, I had a degree in business tourism. So not a business degree though, business tourism, and then I have a minor in financial accounting and a minor in some other business thing. I don't know.
Really, it's turned out to be really useful, whatever it was.
The financial accounting one has been because
the one you're not thinking of.
No, of course not. No, the financial accounting one. I want to do a quick take on this, Pete. It goes back to your conversation or question on like strategy from a go-to-market standpoint. I think the best go-to-market leaders, no matter if you're marketing, sales, CS, another function, understand your P&L, like how your kind of like budget or P&L like really works and impacts the overall businesses, and you understand the business's P&L. Like I when you talk about like this ICP stuff, this is all good, but like what is the economics of the business? And you don't have to do like this crazy LTV to CAC analysis. You don't need to do all this shit. You don't need to have like amazing what is it called? Attribution. Like attribution is a farce at this point. I mean, AI will make it better, I think, but you just need to know like, hey, when you look at your expense of GTM like headcount, for example, and you look at like how much revenue that brings in, like, is that healthy or not healthy? Like, just start basic stuff, Pete. You know what I mean?
The pieces relatively, the relative effort and expense of different things. Does it have the relative impact, right? Like just trying to get that at eye level. Yeah.
Basic. And then like you can peel the onion and say, okay, great. Like this is looking good. This isn't looking good. Like for some things, depending on how you go to market, you definitely want to have a deeper ROI analysis. Like, one way that we have gone to market is very marketing led, like very focused on inbound. Like marketing sources a lot of our pipeline, so we have a pretty big responsibility. So I'm pretty dialed in on like when you think about performance marketing, paid channels, what is that ratio of spend to pipeline return to revenue return, and what's the lifetime value? I think this year we're going to take it up a whole nother level with understanding that in a more real-time way and being able to then take past data and say, hey, you have a high chance that this is going to come true through predictive analytics. But again, I think people like rush into some of these more complicated things, Pete, before they're ready. Like they don't have the fundamentals.
You don't have the foundation.
Of what we're talking about here. ICP, like ICP strategy.
There's all kinds of foundations. I think one of them is that another one that we run into is like people are like, I want to do multi-touch attribution and predictive modeling, and then we ask them, okay, what tools are you using, and like, can we plug in your data? And they're like, I don't have a password for that. it's like they don't have their password to HubSpot or Google Analytics, right? Or like Search Console or Ahrefs. I rely on somebody to send me a report every month. I'm like, you are so far away from worrying about predictive analytics and predictive. Like you just need to get your shit together so that you actually know how you're performing and to make the connection between the work you're doing each week and at least the potential impact of it, right? So
that's true.
Yeah, there's a lot of companies that don't have those basics, but it sounds like that's not Easy Llama. It sounds like Easy Llama has a lot of that in place. And given that you're so marketing driven, I imagine like you guys have like a vision or a view of how the future will be and kind of your role in it. Could you speak a little bit to that? Because that's in the strategy section of my course. It's kind of the next step. Like after you narrow your ICP, after you do kind of a SWOT analysis where you're comparing your strengths relative to your competitors, next step is to step back and say, all right, now that we have all this customer and competitive information in our heads or on paper, it's like, what do we change? What is the change we want to create in the world? And so I'm curious if you guys have kind of gotten that hot, thought that high level.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, so simplify it down. You have small business, mid-market, enterprise. right? Like
Yeah.
those size businesses, Pete.
Okay.
I think that, and then you have your ASP. What's your average sales price?
Yeah.
And then you have how much change management is required when someone buys your product. Every product requires change management, but how much does it require? HubSpot, it was actually a lot of change management required for these small businesses.
Yeah. Right.
So like, I think you need to take those 3 things into account when you
Okay.
answer this next question that you just asked me.
Okay.
Taking those into account, we're catering more to the small business, medium business. We're definitely not enterprise, not even close.
Okay.
Because it's really a red ocean for us over there. Like we feel like there's a classic blue ocean, if you will.
I
Like
see. So the small and mid-sized businesses are underserved in this. They don't have an affordable, easy to use way to basically be compliant, which is really important. Right?
No, exactly. Yeah. Like your company's like a great probably ICP match for us. You know what I mean? As an example.
Yep.
So we're like, all right, great. Like thinking about that, how do we go to market? Like, it's a bootstrap company. We're going to be very, efficient, try to be efficient. And the other thing with this company, you have to ask yourself is like, are you, or how much demand can you kind of just, what's the right term? Like just cultivate or pick from versus like having to really like create it.
How much can you capture versus that's already out, existing demand that you can capture versus go out and create the need, like convince me that I need this risk compliance training tool.
Yeah.
Right?
And that is on a spectrum of like how important and big is the pain. So you have to consider that as you think about your whole like go-to-market strategy related to your ICP. And for us, for a lot of the things we sell, not everything, but a lot of the things, Pete, federal laws, state laws.
Okay. Yeah, of course.
you have to do some of this shit.
Right. Understood. Yes.
So, but like, I'm sharing all this because like it really has to inform how you think about your go-to-market.
Yeah.
That being said, you could be like, great, like everyone needs this. All we have to do is like make sure we show up in the right place for when they're thinking about this problem, and we'll be good. No.
Right. Yeah. Not good enough. Right.
It's not that
That's
easy.
expensive. That's expensive to do that, right? Yes.
It's expensive, not that easy. Yeah. It's also like, there's not much like moat or like differentiation or, leverage, distribution leverage, which I think is the most important thing you can think about these days. Distribution leverage. So what we've done is we've started to create a new narrative around compliance. Like we believe compliance, kind of like the HubSpot narrative where there's an old way. We think the old way is very reactive. It's almost like in a legacy kind of moment where
sexual harassment, we need to do sexual harassment.
it's like you don't want a lawsuit to happen to have you do that. You know what I mean?
Right,
or like, and also like the laws are changing really fast. We also do a lot with security now and security training. We have an amazing phishing simulator. So our whole stance is proactive compliance, which we call like more agile. Like you need to be more agile when you think about your compliance and security. Okay. So you take this messaging and point of view and storytelling, and then you start to say, all right, great. How am I going to reach this audience? Tying that point of view and messaging, not from a product standpoint per se, but more of a problem standpoint. Yeah. And how do we get that in front of the right people? But also at the same time, we know people are coming to us for exactly like you said. They're typing into Google or like ChatGPT now, what's the best sexual harassment training? So we need to show up in both spots. And depending on they come in, we have to meet them in the middle. You know what I mean?
So going back to, I want to understand, go back to the, like the problem statement you said earlier is like, or the positioning that you have, is it that like, is the positioning that like, there's new issues that are going to arise. There's new laws, there's new regulations, there's new risks to your business. Yep. And those are happening all the time. And Easy Llama is on top of those. And we will be able to deliver it. So you don't need to sit there and worry about what the newest thing is. So you can be agile. You can train your team on what they need to be trained and ensure compliance without worrying about it. Is that kind of
bingo? We help you. We you know where I'm going to go with this now. We help you identify the laws, the regulations, and trainings you need to keep your business protected and people safe.
Okay. Oh, that's great.
And then we help you audit.
Did we just hear your mission statement?
No, it's not. Our mission statement's a little bit higher. Our mission statement is we help businesses create safer and more productive workplaces.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. But that's perfectly aligned.
It is perfectly aligned. Yes.
The thought processes to it. So yeah. Awesome. Good work. It's rare. And do you have like a separate vision statement of like how you want to create what you want to create in the world, or?
We actually don't. We have a very similar thing we did at HubSpot with an M spot. So we
Okay.
do have like
Yeah.
we call it the Llama path. The Llama path.
Okay, got it. That's cool. Everybody's got to have their own. When I was talking to Chris Savage, founder and CEO of Wistia, about a month ago, and about theirs. We learned from them because one of their executives was our VP marketing here for a while.
Yep.
And we went through this process of this called defining your view of the future, and it was really helpful because many times we wrote like our vision and mission statement, and like it never stuck. Like it never was memorable. Like we didn't get it. And like we would debate over all these little words. Yours is good. I don't think you need to work on it, but we debate all of these words. And like sometimes it was too high level, sometimes it was too detailed, sometimes it was too constraining, sometimes not specific enough to communicate anything. So it was really hard. And so we just said, stop worrying about like fitting it into 8 words. And instead just like, let's write a page on what trends happened that got us here, and which ones of those we think will continue, and then what new trends do we think will happen in the coming years that's relevant to us and our customers for what we do. And then like by saying we can write a page, it allowed us to like expand our thought process. And the beauty of it is we were able to get agreement. And like some of it was like, yeah, we all 100% agree with that line. And then someone was like, yeah, we're pretty cool with that line, but we got a page, so it's fine, right? Like, so then condensing that down into a vision and mission was so much easier because we were clear on what we were 100% in agreement on.
Yes.
And what should be in there. So it was an interesting exercise, but it sounds like you guys got your mission aligned perfectly with your positioning, with your ICP, which is really the crux of it. So that's cool. I'm going to move to like planning a little bit and like how Easy Llama does planning. I think you guys have the strategy stuff dialed in, it seems. And you already alluded to it a little bit earlier of like, you have all these channels that you're running. You need to see not just what the CAC is on those relative CAC is, but like you need to see, is it helping? Is it driving high LTV customers? So it sounds to me like you have a lot of stuff instrumented, and I'm curious, like, and you also said that marketing drives a big portion of the business, at least from a customer acquisition perspective. And so I'm curious if you did any modeling to like figure out like, oh, if we want to hit this target at the end of the year, like, did you work backwards to like, oh, what does our budget need to be over here? Or how much improvement do we need here? And can you just talk a little bit about that, like mathematical planning process that you went through?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, all of our stuff like can always be better. Like we're not like a world-class company yet, but it's in a pretty good spot. So we have like good data, or like you say, good enough data, right, Pete? Like to be able to do some modeling and forecasting based off of scenarios and then historicals.
Okay.
You gotta be in business at least a couple years to be able to do this, I think. I mean, I guess you could do it with a couple quarters, but it might not be super reliable.
And all that. How much control you have over how much there is a correlation between the work you're doing and the work in the outcome you're producing. If you have that correlation, then you can model. And sometimes that can be 30 days, depending on what you're doing. But yes, I agree. It helps to have a few years of data and see some trends, seasonality, even things like that.
Yep. Yeah. So we had a couple of years of reliable data, and then we did that. And then we actually look at it now. We have an amazing COO who helps with this in a big way. We're really looking at it at a quarter basis. Like, cause we're bootstrapped. We're like, we don't like, oh, like there's not really like a board, which is kind of nice, to some degree. Like we can kind of control our own destiny here. So it's, how do we make sure we're doing the best things for our customers and the best things for the business, like kind of every 90 days almost, Okay.
Yeah. Awesome. Good. And so the COO is like kind of quarterbacking that process.
Yep. He's fantastic.
But or is he working with like functional leaders or managers and like trying to model out things? He or she?
Oh yeah. We have discussions. We went through he mapped out, I think it was a 10-week 2026 planning process that we methodically went through. It was 5 steps.
Yeah.
We had an offsite during like between step 1 and 2, basically, where we
Okay.
got together in Miami, really like, and that's where we talked about like strategic priorities, and we call it big bets. What are the big bets for 2026?
Okay.
And
Yep.
then how would those big bets impact potentially the financial side of it, but also just kind of like our normal business operations? And then we debated those. And then we went back and said, these are the ones we're going to pick and use and do. And, it's basically 3-4 big bets. And we started with
Yeah.
like 10. We did the memo approach to that process when we thought about the big bets. And then we built a financial plan based off of that. And we did both top down and bottoms up. But a lot of it comes down to PPR. Like, what does the sales team look like? What are assumed PPR? Like, what do we think about headcount? Stuff like that.
It did. Okay.
Yeah.
It's nice that it's also you can size it. We struggle with that here at Databox. We are so marketing driven. Our ICP, our ASP, or ARPU is really low. It's like $350 a month per customer. So it's hard to sit there and say like, yeah, let's just add headcount. It needs to really be driven through marketing first. So got it. So you did the modeling, but I want to step back. You said something like big bets. So in the course that I wrote, going from strategy to planning, I talk a lot about objectives. You probably are familiar with objectives and key results, which was pioneered, back at Intel days and leveraged by Google and Amazon, Airbnb, and all these well-known multi-billion-dollar companies. We have a model we use called objectives, goals, and initiatives. Objectives is the same as in OKRs. Goals is basically just another word for key results, but we tie initiatives to it. And so I think your initiatives could be like big bets, for example. And so we have four big objectives and then multiple initiatives underneath. But to me, it sounds like your big bets are similar to your objectives. My guess is that they're like somewhat qualitative, aspirational things that you want to improve in the business or have a bigger impact on the customers or the team or something like that.
Yep.
Would you be comfortable sharing one of them?
Oh yeah. We're actually launching one of them. When does this podcast go live? Is it coming up pretty soon?
Probably in a month or so.
Oh yeah, so it should be out. It'll be out.
Okay.
We're launching something called the Compliance Copilot.
Oh, cool, nice.
Yes.
Guess what that is?
Yeah. So it's you can guess what that is. Basically, an assistant in a way to help you make sure you're staying as compliant as you can be, like keeping up to date with all these changes and stuff. So. Yeah. For us, like we hear again, this is coming from customer feedback. Like it's really hard to know, like we have all these employees in all these states to know like what all the regulations are, changes, like what's going on. Like, no, like, we got you covered. Got it.
And so they can go into assumably a chat interface in your product and just say, hey, I have new employees in Pennsylvania. What do I need to be compliant? Or, hey, am I compliant? Given where all my team is or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, and then we through our Smart Assign feature, we automate the assignments, help automate the training, and then we monitor risk levels and compliance levels, completion. Like so, it's really those 3 verbs. My fan with those 3 jobs to be done, Pete. Like identify, automate, monitor. Like that's
okay.
Yeah.
Got it. That's cool. And then they can interact with all that. All that data through the chat interface, so they can see how am I in compliance or where am I out of compliance.
Oh yeah, big vision around this. Big vision. So one thing we do differently that goes back to the OKR piece is those big bets. I want to call them maybe OKRs. Those are definitely more aspirational, like you said. We have quarterly leadership priorities. So every VP and above sets quarterly priorities. There's like 7-8 of us, and those then cascade. And I have then monthly priorities for my team that they set and they reflect back on. We have, in marketing, we're very data driven, of course. So we have like literally daily and weekly KPI pacing. We have waterfalls in marketing that we've set up, like waterfalls in sales. But like, we do have this idea of like, the big bets, the Llama path, down to the quarterly stuff, down to the monthly, down to almost the weekly.
Gotcha. Awesome.
Yeah.
So in my execute chapter in my course, that's exactly what it's all about. It's about taking your high level bets, or in the case of our system, OGIs or OKRs, and then breaking the key results to the goals down the org chart so that they're cascading. And the easy one to explain is the sales leader has a new customer acquisition goal, and then each sales rep's going to have it, and then each sales rep might have a deal creation guideline and a call volume guideline, right? So like all those goals get cascaded down. And we built something in Databox that allows you to like look at that all in one screen, so you can see everything cascaded all at once.
I love that.
So it sounds like you're doing, and then you have the meeting cadence that backs that up. So you have, the quarterly meeting with the management team, then you have a monthly, sounds like monthly with your reports, and then they're looking at things weekly and reporting that out. So it sounds like and then if you have waterfall charts where you're seeing how you're trending in a given week or given month against a goal, then everybody can pay attention to how you're trending and if they need to course correct.
Every day, I can tell you that like right now we're about 2 to 3 days ahead of pace for our core leading indicator of demand right now. Like I can tell you that I can look right now and tell you that. I can tell you where we are from a pipeline standpoint, like real time, Pete. You know the importance of that. Like I think it's almost unacceptable now. Like once you get to a certain point, you're problem market fit, you're maybe finding product market fit, you're definitely past product market fit. Like you should have real time metrics and like tracking. Like this is like a no brainer here. Come on, folks. Like
you'd be surprised how many companies don't. Everybody in our funnel generally doesn't, right? Because they're basically like,
well, that's a problem you're solving.
That we can solve that. So
that's the problem you're solving. So that's why I'm just like encouraging people to like have Databox, have Pete. He did not ask me to say this, folks. Like you should definitely have real time visibility to how your business is doing.
Yeah, and it's hard. Like we actually just launched our chat app. We call it Genie. We also launched the MCP server that allows people to chat with any of the data they have connected in Claude or ChatGPT or whatever, build workflow automations in N8N or Make or whatever. And so we're seeing major uptick in that because just monitoring how you're doing is good, but like understanding why something is trending is harder. And it's actually really hard for most humans. Like most humans don't think in terms of correlations and inputs connecting to outputs to outcomes. Like a lot of people have trouble thinking in systems. And then when you start doing, analyzing your website traffic, just as a simple example, like you got channels, you got pages, there's so many ways that you can slice and dice things. And for a human to go through and slice and dice that and like zero in on a problem or an opportunity is hard. But AI attached to well-structured data can do that shit in minutes and like spit out like, here's your problems, here's your solutions, here's opportunities, here's recommendations. And like, it's crazy how fast you can do it now with that stuff. So I agree with you. You're derelict in your duty if you're not paying attention to your performance after a certain size. The type of I imagine you guys have with 8,000 customers. I imagine you have relatively high volume of transactions, and so like no one human can see all that without data, right? You need data to translate that into how things are going.
You do. No, that's cool. I know you're right about the insight. That's where I worry about AI. Like you can lose. You can also gain great critical thinking skills, but you can also become not a great critical thinker. I don't know. It's very tough.
So what we're seeing is like, so we work, as you know, we work with a lot of agencies, a lot of really great agencies. But even in an agency that's like 50 employees and doing great, they generally have just a handful of people who are really good at analysis. And they're usually a bottleneck. And so what we're doing with AI with them is like, they're basically writing out analytical SOPs. So it explains how to analyze something. It's like, here's how we analyze LinkedIn ad accounts. They might even have an SOP for how they set up LinkedIn ad accounts. And by feeding that plus the performance data in real time into say Claude, now Claude can use their analytics SOP, their account setup SOP, and the real-time data to like, and the real-time data in order to do the analysis in the way that smartest person in the agency would do. And because you're feeding the instructions and it's like showing you the data as it's showing you the recommendation, like most humans can interpret that and say, oh yeah, I see that trend, or I see that fall off a cliff, or hey, I see that that's working better than expected. The AI is just finding that for you, and then you can still validate that through the visualization of the data.
Love that.
Yeah.
No, I love that. Yeah, that's great.
Pretty crazy. We're crazy times right now, man.
It's exciting. It's definitely crazy exciting. Yeah.
Scary exciting. Yeah. We might all be out of work in about 6 months. We'll see. But in the meanwhile, it's kind of fun. Yeah. Cool. So what's like stepping away from my methodology for a little bit? So what's surprised you along the way? You've been there a year. like what hasn't worked that you thought would work, and yeah, maybe that's one question to start with.
Well, I think it comes down to what metric like do you feel is going to be the one that helps like get your sales and marketing team better united. Like that's a key thing. That's super important. So
yeah.
we spent some time like searching for that, looking at the data.
Mm-hmm.
And we have this thing like called hand raisers versus non-hand raisers.
Okay.
So instead of like MQLs, like we have life cycle stages, all this crap, but like
because those definitions can get so lost and fucked up. Yeah.
It's like simple. Like for a salesperson, it's simple. For a marketer, it's simple. We have non-hand raisers that marketing is responsible to nurture to a hand raise state. And then we have 3 or 4 different types of offers that turn someone into a hand raiser. And sales has to follow up with them. And they usually do phone calls, personal emails, LinkedIn, maybe use like thanks as gifting thing we have. Like they are going to turn those hand raisers hopefully into a deal. And it's super clean and simple. But it just took some time to get to that point, you know, like
right.
So that can, where is that in your process? Maybe that's more like execution, but like that is really important for everyone listening. Like if you have a sales team, like you got to make sure like your marketing and sales team, like
was there a challenge that you walked into where it was like, I'm guessing you were generating more demand than the sales team could actually follow up with appropriately or effectively? Or
it was some of that. It was more like we were generating a lot of this demand that I thought they should try to engage with. And not all of it, but some of it. And now with the new sales leader coming in, you know, Ellen, she's awesome. And like she and I were able to figure this out with a few other people's help and say like, look, like it's clear that like the only type of hand raiser they were working before is just demo requests. And we do get a lot of demo requests. It's good. Like we have a good machine, but like, you know, that's not going to be like the only thing that we can rely on to get to the sales number. Like we need a little bit other, and then we think of it as higher intent product actions. So when you think about your hand raisers, everyone listening, what are the things? It could be an interactive demo. It could be a free trial. It could be a preview or something that's product specific, but what are the product offers you have that are higher intent, that are showing more like buying kind of interest or commitment, that sales should be working, in my opinion.
Got it. Okay. Have you guys tried to build out like a product qualified lead? Do you have a free trial?
We don't. The flavor of PLG we have right now is a free course preview, but it's a flavor. It's not even close to true PLG, Pete. But Compliance Copilot, we have that is a free web app. Okay. So again, depending on when this comes out,
I can see how excited you are. You're hoping that makes everything easier on marketing.
Well, no, not easier. I think we're actually the team's doing a great job. I think it's all about 3 things, right? Volume, quality, and cost. How do we like get volume up, keeping quality down, and cost like about the same?
Cost down. Yeah, right. We're the same. So we've built what we call Genie, which is our chat app, and we kind of we're just launching it to customers right now. In fact, it's only in beta for like 20 or 30 customers right now. But we do see how it will become the tool that people use to onboard themselves into our product. In which case, like it might make sense for us to give a portion of it away, and just let them connect data, start asking questions of it, and then now we have time, right, to like say, hey, you should visualize that. Why don't you build a dashboard that you can share with your team? Or hey, you should report that out to a stakeholder, build a report, and all those, or set a goal, right? So all these features in our product that we can push them to. And so we've talked about that is potentially using the chat app as a, you know, basically a free thing that people get started with and help.
I love that. I love it. I getting people to experience your product before they talk to a salesperson is so important today. Like
we've always had that. So we have a free trial. So and we have a PQL score, right? So we based on what they do in the product, we can predict with pretty good accuracy whether they're going to buy. And so our sales team focuses there first. But we have the same struggle of like, all right, you've worked all those. Now what are you doing? And so then it like the efficiency and effectiveness drops off quite a bit, but we still want the sales team doing that, especially when they have time. Right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's an exciting time. There's just, I think, you know, Helligan used to, you know, always say this, and I take it with me, like match how you go to market to how people like to buy today.
Yeah.
And
still true. Yeah.
It's still true. But it goes back to like, what is your ICP? Everyone is a person at the end of the day, right? People are people, But for your business to have the highest chance of, growing or keeping its growth rate high or growing faster or whatever, like you really got to get all of the key teams and players aligned. So like doing this ICP stuff as a united like leadership team, like is so important. So important.
No, we did the same thing every year. Basically, and it's a lot of time and it's a lot of effort. And sometimes we end up just rehashing what we did the year before. But it's so important just to reevaluate that and say, okay, yeah, we were 100% right. We're going to stick with that. Or, oh, we were only 50% right. We're going to tweak that. Or, hey, we were right directionally, but we didn't do enough to really have an impact there. We need to focus more, make that more of a focus. And I think those discussions are so important to get on the same page. And when you get to the point where you're past 20 people, past 40 people, past 100 people, like if your management team isn't on the same page on that stuff and everybody is moving in different directions, it's very obvious to the rest of the team. It becomes obvious to the market. And so, yeah, I agree with you. If you're not taking that time to do that strategy and get that alignment, it's really hard to get anything done. Yeah.
It's been an awesome conversation, Pete. I love it.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you jumping on and going through this stuff with me. Congrats on the success so far with Easy Llama. Look forward to seeing you guys help lots more companies reduce their risk profile. And what was the other part? There was another part. It was
create safer workplaces. Just create safer workplaces.
Yeah. Yes, safer workplaces. Yes.
Yeah,
I used to work in manufacturing, so I understand how important that is.
OSHA, huge. Yeah. Manufacturing, OSHA. Oh my God, yeah. Anything.
Exactly. Cool. Thanks, Mark. Great catching up with you. Glad to see you're still doing well. Be careful out there in the snow. I know you got like 3 feet snow drift. So,
well, you do too. You as well, Pete. I mean, hopefully by the time this comes out, like there is no snow on the ground.
Like, no snow. I'm looking for it. It's like I love the seasons in New England, but there's always every season. There's always a point where like I can't wait for the next season to come, and I'm at that point right now.
Oh, I'm so done. Like so cold, so much snow. I have younger kids than you, but like the kids, they gotta like go outside, like
get back to school.
Yeah, they gotta go outside.
All right, man. I'm gonna stop it. Thanks again.
Yeah.